Hello viewers, welcome to EPG Pathshala. The current module discusses animal diversity, origin and classification. The three domain classification, tree of life. The three domain system is a biological classification introduced by Carl Oss et al. In 1977 that divides cellular life forms into archaea, bacteria and eukaryotic domains. Tree of life is based in part on sequence comparisons of rRNA genes or rDNA. The current module deals with the table of the following contents: three domain classification as tree of life, animal classifications based on cellular organization, symmetry, number of germ layers, body cavity, presence or absence of notochord, embryonic development and segmentation. Overall animal classification, description of animal phyla, salient features of different phyla in the animal kingdom, evolutionary origin of animals, animal germ layers and their derivatives, larval forms of various animals, threatened list of animals of India, state animals and birds. The current diagram depicts the three domains of life forms. One is the archaea domain, which consists of Methanobacterium, halophiles, thermophiles, sulfolobus bacteria. The other domain is the bacterial domain, which consists of green non-sulfur bacteria, spirochetes, chlamydia, green sulfur bacteria, cyanobacteria, mitochondrion and plastids. The third and the most elaborate domain is of eukarya, which consists of protists including leishmania, trypanosomes, euglena, diatoms, dinoflagellates, ciliates, forams. It also includes red algae and green algae. It includes land plants, animals and fungi. The animal classification is based on various parameters such as cellular organization, symmetry, number of germ layers, body cavity, presence or absence of notochord, embryonic development. Cellular organization. Animal kingdom is divided into two subkingdoms, protozoa and metazoa. Protozoa are defined as single-celled eukaryotic organisms and metazoa are multicellular eukaryotic organisms. The subkingdom metazoa is further subdivided into two branches, parazoa and eumetazoa. In parazoa, cells are arranged as loose cell aggregates, that is, they exhibit cellular level of organization, absence of tissues or organ system of level of organization. The example of this class is phylum Porifera. Eumetazoa is a clade comprising all other major animal phyla except Porifera. Embryo gets layered during gastrulation, exhibit either tissue or organ system level of organization. In the tissue level of organization in phylum Cnidaria and Ctenophora, the arrangement of cells is more complex. Here the cells performing the same function are arranged into tissues. Organ level of organization. Organ level is exhibited by members of Platyhelminthes and other higher phyla where tissues are grouped together to form organs, each specialized for a particular function. Now, based on symmetry, animals can be categorized on the basis of their symmetry as well. Asymmetry, sponges are mostly asymmetrical, that is, any plane that passes through the center does not divide them into equal halves. Radial symmetry, when any plane passing through the central axis of the body divides the organism into two identical halves, it is called radial symmetry. Cnidarians, ctenophores and echinoderms have this kind of body plan. In phylum Echinodermata, larval stages are bilaterally symmetrical and adult stages are radially symmetric. Now, bilateral symmetry. Animals like annelids, arthropods, where the body can be divided into identical left and right halves in only one plane, exhibit bilateral symmetry. Now, based on the number of germ layers as well, animals are classified. In all the animals except sponges, the embryo becomes layered during gastrulation. As development progresses, these layers called germ layers form the various tissues and organs of the body. Diploblastic animals, animals in which the cells are arranged in two embryonic layers, an external ectoderm and an internal endoderm, are called diploblastic animals. For example, cnidarians and ctenophores. An undifferentiated layer mesoglia or mesohyl is present in between the ectoderm and the endoderm in this phyla. Triploblastic animals, those animals in which the developing embryo has a third germinal layer, that is mesoderm, in between the ectoderm and endoderm, are called triploblastic animals. Examples include phyla from Platyhelminthes to chordates. Now, based on the presence or absence of a cavity between the body wall and the gut wall, animals are also classified into coelomates. Mostly triploblastic animals have a body cavity, a fluid or air filled space located between the digestive tract and the outer body wall. This body cavity is also called a coelom. Animals possessing coelom are called coelomates. The example of this classification are phyla annelids, mollusks, arthropods, echinoderms and chordates. Pseudocoelomates, in some animals the body cavity is not lined by mesoderm, instead the mesoderm is present as scattered pouches in between the ectoderm and endoderm. Such a body cavity is called pseudocoelom and the animals possessing them are called pseudocoelomates. The example of this classification is the phyla Aschelminthes. Acoelomates, the animals in which the body cavity is absent are called acoelomates. The example is the phyla Platyhelminthes. Now, based on the presence or absence of notochord as well, the classification of animals is done. Notochord is a mesodermally derived rod-like structure formed on the dorsal side during embryonic development in some animals. Non-chordates are those animals which do not form notochord structure, for example, Porifera to echinoderms. Chordates, there are 4 key characteristics of chordates: a notochord, a dorsal hollow nerve cord, pharyngeal slits or clefts and a muscular post-anal tail. Now, based on embryonic development, many animals can be described as having one of two developmental modes: protostome development or deuterostome development. These modes can generally be distinguished by differences in cleavage, coelom formation and fate of the blastopore. Protostome development begins with spiral determinate cleavage. The coelom forms from splits in the mesoderm and the mouth forms from the blastopore. Protostomes include the phyla Mollusca, Annelida and Arthropoda. Deuterostomes, deuterostome development is characterized by radial indeterminate cleavage. Coelom forms from mesodermal outpocketings of the archenteron and the mouth is formed secondarily. Anus develops from the blastopore. Deuterostomes include the phyla Echinodermata and Chordata. Kindly go through this slide where Animalia is classified as Parazoa and Eumetazoa. Now, Eumetazoa is further subdivided into radial and bilateral symmetric animals. The radial symmetry is again of diploblastic animals, Cnidaria and ctenophores. The bilateral symmetry is exhibited by triploblastic animals, which again are divided into protostomes and deuterostomes. Protostomes include acoelomates, pseudocoelomates, coelomates. Deuterostomes include coelomates. And among the coelomates you have Echinodermata and Chordata. The Chordata is further classified as Cephalochordata, Urochordata and Vertebrata. Vertebrata is further classified as Pisces and Tetrapods. Pisces include Chondrichthyes and Ostrichtes. Tetrapods are again classified as amphibians, reptiles, aves and mammals. Now, let us look at the description of each phyla, the salient features of each phyla. Porifera, they are otherwise known as sponges, lack true tissues. They have cells called choanocytes which ingest bacteria and tiny food particles. Body is supported by a skeleton made up of spicules or sponging fibers. The sexes are not separate and reproduce asexually by fragmentation and sexually by formation of gametes. Examples of this phyla include Cycon, Spongilla, Euspongia. Now, the phylum Ctenophora are otherwise known as comb jellies. The salient features include 8 rows of ciliated combs or teens. Bioluminescence is well marked in ctenophores. Reproduction takes place only by sexual means. The examples of this phyla include Pleurobrachia and Ctenoplana. Phylum Cnidaria, they have unique stinging structures called nematocysts housed in specialized cells called cnidocytes. Corals have a skeleton composed of calcium carbonate. Cnidarians exhibit 2 basic body plan forms called polyp and medusa. Those cnidarians which exist in both forms exhibit alternation of generations called as metagenesis, example being Obelia. The examples of this phyla include Physalia, Adamsia, Panatula, Gorgonia and Meandrina. Now, Platyhelminthes or otherwise flatworm phyla, a central nervous system that processes information from sensory structures. They have specialized cells called flame cells which help in osmoregulation and excretion. Development is through many larval stages. Some members like Planaria possess high regeneration capacity. Examples of this phyla include Taenia and Fasciola. Phyla Nematoda, they are otherwise known as roundworms. Cylindrical pseudocoelomates with tapered ends, and they also undergo ecdysis. Alimentary canal is complete with a well developed muscular pharynx. An excretory tube removes body waste from the body cavity through the excretory pore. The examples of this phyla include Ascaris, Wuchereria, Ancylostoma, that is hookworm. Now, phylum Annelida or otherwise known as segmented worms. They consist of segmented body wall known as metameres and internal organs except digestive tract which is unsegmented. Aquatic annelids like Nereis possess lateral appendages, parapodia which help in swimming. Nephridia help in osmoregulation and excretion. Reproduction is sexual. The examples of this phyla include Nereis, Ferretima and Hirudinaria. Now, phylum Mollusca is the second largest animal phylum. Body parts include muscular foot, visceral mass, mantle. The coelom is reduced in this phyla. Most have hard shell made of calcium carbonate. The mantle cavity in which feather like gills are present. The mouth contains a file like rasping organ for feeding called radula. The examples of this phyla include Pila, Sepia, Loligo, Octopus, Aplysia, Dentalium and Catopleura. Phylum Arthropoda is the largest and the most diverse phylum of Animalia. They have segmented body, jointed appendages and exoskeleton made of protein and chitin. The body consists of head, thorax and abdomen. Respiratory organs are gills, book lungs or tracheal system. Circulatory system is of open type which is bathed in a fluid called hemolymph. Sensory organs like antennae, eyes which are both compound and simple are existing. Statocysts or balance organs are present. Excretion takes place through Malphizian tubules. The examples include insects such as Apis, Bombyx, Laccifer, vectors such as Anopheles, Culex, Aedes and gregarious pests include Locusta and Limulus. Phylum Echinodermata. The adult echinoderms are radially symmetrical, but larvae are bilaterally symmetrical. The most distinctive feature of echinoderms is the presence of water vascular system which helps in locomotion, capture and transport of food and respiration. An excretory system is absent. Examples of this phyla include Asterias, Echinus, Antedon, Cucumeria and Opera. Chordata is characterized by the presence of a notochord, a dorsal hollow nerve cord and paired pharyngeal gill slits. It is again subclassified into Urochordata and Cephalochordata are often referred to as protochordates. In Urochordata, notochord is present only in larval tail, while in Cephalochordata, it extends from head to tail region and is persistent throughout their life. The examples of Urochordata include Acidia, Salpa and Doliolum. The examples of cephalochordate includes brachiostomes, that is Amphioxus and lancelets. Now, tetrapods include Pisces, And under Pisces there are two classes, Chondrichthyes and Ostrichtes. Chondrichthyes notochord is persistent throughout life. Gill slits are separate and without operculum. The skin is tough, containing minute placoid scales. Due to the absence of air bladder, they have to swim constantly to avoid sinking. Heart is two chambered in this class, one auricle and one ventricle. Some of them have electrical organs such as torpedo, and some possess poisonous stinging, that is example of trigon. They are cold blooded animals which are otherwise also known as poikilothermous animals, i.e. they lack the capacity to regulate their body temperature. Many of them are viviparous. The examples of this class include Scoliodon, Pristis, Carcharodon and Trigon. Now, the other class of Pisces include Ostrichtes. It includes both marine and freshwater fishes with bony endoskeleton. They have 4 pairs of gills which are covered by an operculum on each side. Air bladder is present which regulates buoyancy. They are mostly oviparous in nature. The examples of this class include Hippocampus, Exocetus, the freshwater labio, Cutla, Clarius, the aquarium based fishes such as Betta and Pterophyllum. Now, class Tetrapoda includes amphibians. The body is divisible in head and trunk. The amphibian skin is moist without scales. The eyes have eyelids. A tympanum represents the ear. Alimentary canal, urinary and reproductive tracts open into a common chamber called cloaca, which opens to the exterior. Respiration is by gills, lungs and through skin. The heart is 3-chambered in most of the reptiles, 2 auricles and 1 ventricle. These are cold-blooded animals and are oviparous in nature. Examples of this class include Bufo, Rana, Hyla, Salamandra and Ichthyopis. Class Reptilia includes animals where body is covered by dry and cornified skin, epidermal scales or scutes. They do not have external ear openings. Tympanum represents ear. Heart is usually 3-chambered, but 4-chambered in crocodiles. Reptiles are mostly poikilotherms. Snakes and lizards shed their scales as skin cast. They are also oviparous in nature. Examples of this class include Chelone, Testudo, Chameleon, Calotes, Crocodilus, alligator, Hemidactylus, poisonous snakes including Naja, Bangaras, Vipera, etc. Now, class Aves is a special class with many salient features. The presence of feathers, and most of them can fly except flightless birds, for example ostrich. The forelimbs are modified into wings. The hind limbs generally have scales and are modified for walking, swimming or clasping the tree branches. Skin is dry without glands except the oil gland at the base of the tail. Endoskeleton is fully ossified and the long bones are hollow with air cavities, otherwise known as pneumatic bones. The digestive tract of bird has additional chambers, the crop and gizzard. Heart is completely 4-chambered in case of aves. They are warm-blooded, homeothermous animals, that is, they are able to maintain a constant body temperature in sync with the external environment. They are oviparous in nature. Examples include Corvus, Columba, Psittacula, Strutio, Pavo, Appendocyte and Neophron. Now, class Mammalia, the most unique mammalian characteristic is the presence of milk producing glands, that is the mammary glands, by which the young ones are nourished. The skin of the mammals is unique in possessing hair, external ears or pinnae are present, different types of teeth are also present in the jaw. Heart is 4-chambered, they are homothermous, they are viviparous in nature. However, Ornithorhynchus is oviparous in these animals. The other animals are viviparous including Macropus, Pteropus, Camelus, Macaca, Rattus, Canis, Felis, Elephas, Equus, Delphinus and Panthera tigris and Panthera leo. Now, coming to the evolutionary origin of animals. The history of animals spans more than half a billion years. Fossil biochemical evidence and molecular clock analysis indicate that animals arose over 700 million years ago. Genomic analysis suggests that key steps in the origin of animals involved new ways of using proteins that were encoded by genes found in choanoflagellates. The following table provides an overview of how animals evolved from their distant common ancestors over 4 geological eras. The Neoproterozoic era consists of period Ediacaran. The important events of this period include radially symmetric invertebrate animals appearance. Paleozoic era includes periods Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous and Permian. In the Cambrian period, the important events include sudden increase in diversity of many animal phyla, which we call it as Cambrian explosion. In the Ordovician period, colonization of land by animals, invertebrates dominated during this period. During the Silurian period, radiation of crinoids occurred, a continued proliferation and expansion of the brachiopods and the oldest known fossils of coral reefs. This period also marks the wide and rapid spread of jawless fish. During the Devonian period, diversification of bony fishes took place, first tetrapods and insects appeared. During the Carboniferous period, reptiles originated and amphibians dominated the land. During the Permian period, radiation of reptiles took place, origin of most present day groups of insects, extinction of many marine and terrestrial organisms at the end of the period. Now, the Mesozoic era is again divided into Triassic, Jurassic and Cretaceous period. The Triassic period, the important events include the evolution of dinosaurs and their radiation, and also it is marked by the origin of mammals. The Jurassic period, dinosaurs were abundant and diversified. In the Cretaceous period, dinosaurs became extinct at the end of the period. Finally, the Cenozoic era is again divided into Paleogene, Neogene and Quaternary periods. During the Paleogene period, major radiation of mammals, birds and pollinating insects took place. Origins of many primate groups also happened during this period. In Neogene period, continuous radiation of animals and appearance of bipedal human ancestors. And finally, in the Quaternary period, ice ages occurred and origin of genus Homo took place. So, various body tissues have occurred from each germ layer of triploblastic animals. For example, the ectoderm has given rise to epidermis and epidermal derivatives such as hair, nails, tooth, enamel, mammary, sweat and sebaceous glands, epithelia of skin, ear, eye, nose, lower anal canal, cornea and lens of eye, epithelium of anterior pituitary and sensory neuroreceptors, the neural tube, central nervous system, retina, neurohypophysis, pineal gland, astrocytes, oligodendrocytes. The neural crest includes connective tissue and bones of the face and skull, cranial nerve ganglia, C cells of thyroid gland, odontoblasts, dermis in face and neck, spinal ganglia and pre-aortic ganglia, parasympathetic ganglia, adrenal medulla, squam cells, glial cells, melanocytes. Now, the germ layer mesoderm give rise to paraxial mesoderm or somatic mesoderm. Now, the paraxial mesoderm or somatic mesoderm gives rise to sclerotome which forms cartilage, the syndotome which forms the tendon, the myotome which forms the skeletal muscle, the dermatome forms the dermis as well as skeletal muscle and endothelial cells. The head mesoderm includes connective tissue and the muscles of the face. The intermediate mesoderm gives rise to the parts of urogenital system, kidneys and gonads as well as the reproductive system. The lateral mesoderm gives rise to parietal and visceral layers. Mesoderm cells of the parietal layer form the mesothelial membranes or serous membranes which line the peritoneal, pleural and pericardial cavities. The visceral layer forms the walls of the gut tube. The germ layer endoderm gives rise to the entire alimentary canal except part of the mouth, pharynx and the terminal part of the rectum. The lining cells of all the glands which open into digestive tube include those of the liver and pancreas, the trachea, bronchi and alveoli of the lungs, the lining of the follicles of the thyroid gland and epithelial components of the thymus. the epithelium of the auditory tube and tympanic cavity, and urinary bladder and part of the urethra. Now, this current slide shows that across various phyla, various larval stages of these organisms exist. For example, Porifera, under which you have organs Cycon, which has a larval form of Amphiblastula, Leucoselenia, the larval form is Parenchyma, higher sponges, the larval form is Ragon, Aurelia or jellyfish, the larval form is Planula or Hydrotuba, Obelia sea anemone, the larval form is Planula, Anthozoa, the larval form is Semper's larvae or Cydipid larvae. In case of Platyhelminthes taenia, which has the larval form of Hexacanth and Oncosphere. Fasciola has a larval form of Cercaria, Meracidium, Metacercaria, Radia and Sporocyst. Ancylostoma has a larval form of Filariform. In Nematohelminthes, Wuchereria have the larval form of Microfilaria. Ascaris, that is the roundworm, has the rhabditiform of larva. Nereis has the larval form of Trochophore. Among annelids, Polygodius have the larva of Lovens. Butterfly, silk moth have the caterpillar larva. Lepus has Nupulus cypris larva. Hermit crab has Glocoto larva. Beetles and honeybee have the grub larva. Housefly has the maggot larva. Crab has the megalopa and zoea larva. Among arthropods, lobsters have schizopod or mysis larva. Mosquitoes have wriggler larva. Prawns have Nopelius larva. Saculina again has Nopelius larva. Limulus has trilobite larva. Ticks and mice have hexapod larva. Mayfly has naiads. Among the mollusks, you have gastropods whose larvae include trochophore. Further, in echinoderms, the starfish has bipennaria larva and Brachyloaria. The brittle star has Ophioplutus and Echinus has Echinoplutus. Among hemichordates, you have Balanoglossus, which has the larval form of Tornaria. Petromyzon has the larval form of Emocete, and Ascidia has the larval form of Ascidian tadpole. Among chordates, you have frogs which have the larval form of tadpoles. The salamanders, you have the larval form of axolotls, and the other minor larval forms are also listed in the current slide. The threatened list of animals of India include critically endangered animals, endangered animals, as well as vulnerable animals. Among the critically endangered animals, you have arthropods including Rameshwaram parachute spider, peacock tarantula. Among the endangered birds, you have great Indian bustard, forest owlet, Siberian crane, white-rumped vulture, Indian vulture, slender-billed vulture, Himalayan quail, red-headed vulture, and sociable lapwing. Among the critically endangered fishes, you have Wayanad mahashir, Pondicherry shark, Ganges shark, and Kudremukh glyptothorax, Deccan labio, and various minnows, lake barb, common sawfish, large tooth sawfish, Tenura, Deccan barb, humpback mahseer. Among the critically endangered insects, pygmy hog sucking louse is one of the most important organisms to discuss. Then you have critically endangered reptiles and amphibians, which include red-crowned roof turtle, gharial, ghatswat frog, Gepor ground gecko, Gindia Indian frog, toad-skinned frog, Charles Darwin's frog, green-eyed bush frog, Munar bush frog, Anomaly flying frog, and Ghatswat frog. Among the critically endangered mammals, you have the Asiatic cheetah, which is now extinct from India, Namadafa flying squirrel, Himalayan wolf, Nicobar shrew, northern Sumatran rhinoceros, Indian Javan rhinoceros, large spotted civet. Among the endangered animals, you have fish including Asian arowana, red-line torpedo barb. Among the birds, you have Narcondam hornbills. In reptiles, you have Assam roof turtles. Among the endangered animals, the most prominent are Asiatic lion, Bengal tiger, blue whale, central Kashmir vole, fin whale, Ganges river dolphin, Hollow gibbons, Indian elephant, Indian tiger, Indian wild ass, lion-tailed macaque, Nilgiri marten, Nicobar flying fox, palm rat, red panda, snow leopard, swamp deer, Tibetan antelope, water buffalo, wild goat. Among the vulnerable animals list, you have Barasingha, clouded leopard, Indian rhinoceros, marbled cat, sperm whale, yak. Among the endangered reptiles and amphibians, you have the Oliver Ridley sea turtle. Now, the current slide deals with the various state animals. The list goes: Andhra Pradesh state animal is black buck, Arunachal Pradesh ghayal, Assam one-horned rhinoceros, Bihar gaur, Chhattisgarh Asian water buffalo, Goa Indian bison, Gujarat Asiatic lion, Haryana black buck, Himachal Pradesh snow leopard, Jammu and Kashmir Kashmir stag, Jharkhand Indian elephant, Karnataka Indian elephant, Kerala Indian elephant, Madhya Pradesh Barasingha, Maharashtra Indian gained squirrel, Manipur brow antlered deer, Meghalaya clouded leopard, Mizoram Sumatran Sero, Nagaland Indian bison, Odisha sambar deer, Punjab black buck, Rajasthan camel, Sikkim red panda, Tamil Nadu Nilgiri tar, Telangana spotted deer, Tripura you have fairy langur, Uttar Pradesh swamp deer, Uttarakhand white bellied musk deer, West Bengal fishing cat, Delhi blue bull, Lakshadweep butterfly fish, Puducherry squirrel. Similarly, you also have state birds for each of the state. Andhra Pradesh Indian roller, Arunachal Pradesh great hornbill, Assam white winged duck, Bihar house sparrow, Chhattisgarh hill myna, Goa flame throated bulbul, Gujarat great flamingo, Haryana black francolin, Himachal Pradesh western trogopan, Jammu and Kashmir black necked crane, Jharkhand Asian quail, Karnataka Indian roller, Kerala great hornbill again, Madhya Pradesh Asian paradise flycatcher, Maharashtra yellow footed green pigeon, Manipur Hume's pheasant, Meghalaya hill myna, Mizoram Mrs. Hume's pheasant, Nagaland trogopan, Odisha Indian roller, Punjab northern goshak, Rajasthan great Indian bustard, Sikkim blood pheasant, Tamil Nadu emerald roe, Telangana Indian roller, Tripura great imperial pigeon, Uttar Pradesh Saras crane, Uttarakhand Himalayan monal, West Bengal white breasted kingfisher, Andaman and Nicobar Islands Andaman wood pigeon, Chandigarh Indian grey hornbill, Delhi house sparrow, Lakshadweep sooty tern, and Puducherry the state bird is Asian quail. I hope in this module we have covered the animal diversity as well as the classification and the evolution of animals. I hope you have enjoyed this module. Thank you.